Hello, Midland, Texas. This is going to be an interesting story, and basically just came out in the news. I just saw it. Sheriff David Clark takes job with Homeland Security. He was just recently, and we're talking about as in today, appointed to assistant, I think, Secretary for Homeland, and so I have a history with Homeland, and that's what created this Facebook post, and I want to talk about how this I believe is connected to the resignation of the recent Secretary of Homeland Kevin McAleenan, and then also the recent resignation of the Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry, former governor of Texas, and how both of them and maybe even this, even Clark here, that it's all connected to Midland, Texas, underground facility, $1 million underground facility, and oil show parties, prostitution parties. And so let me go in and get started here. Like I said, you can go look that up yourself. David Clark takes job with Homeland Security. Okay, and so my very top post on this, my first comment, on May 28, 2019, earlier this year, I met with Homeland Security at the Midland Police Department, provided them a packet of evidence that I believe could solve multiple murders and stop this powerful human trafficking ring. The first story that I told them about was the young girl murdered at the 2010 oil show party. Surprisingly, I was cut short after about an hour or so, and I didn't get to finish telling them about the many crimes that have gone on here. That was my first clue. And even when I'm told, oh, we have an emergency, you got to go, and I'm like, oh, well, I need to reschedule, I'm not finished. And oh, no, we got the evidence, we'll call you. And so they were literally pushing me out the door like, oh no, don't tell us about crime, no, stop reporting crimes, good citizen. And so anyway, here's a video I made, evidence provided to Homeland. I'm gonna provide links when I post this video that I'm making right now, and I made that video minutes before I went up there. I went through the packet of evidence and I made a little video, and I never planned on posting it. I actually had hope that Homeland wasn't dirty like everybody else that I've had to deal with, and I was very disappointed in Homeland Security. And so let me move on. On July 2nd, which is not long after, May 28th, Homeland Security agent Paul and wanted me to meet them at the Home Depot store behind my house. Besides asking me why I won't sell my home while living under the threat of death, they tried to make excuses for every piece of evidence that I showed them. I kept saying, yeah, but I have proof of a capital murder attempt. And I was told about the murder of a young girl. And when I was repeatedly reminded that if human traffickers kill the human trafficking victim, then it's not their job. I showed them the suspected location of the tunnels behind Home Depot, which was important because a few weeks later the ground was being dug up and concrete was being poured in the same area. It was an obvious cover-up for the multiple murders and the oil show parties, etc. And so here Homeland Security said, not my job. That's another video I made, and I'm going to provide them links if y'all want to go watch that. Okay. And then, just a couple of weeks after that, after showing Homeland Security where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnels were, that I believe are connected to thousands of crimes, the ground was being dug up and concrete was being poured. I kid you not. It would make you think that Homeland Security was raping and murdering little girls that didn't want to prostitute and shooting unsuspected homeowners that report crime who live above. Okay. And so, here I was actually over at a storage center where they're having garage sales on a Friday, and I happened to make this video, met with Homeland, and now they're pouring concrete. You can see the concrete coming out of the truck going into the ground right where I was with Homeland a couple weeks later, saying, hey, here's where I suspect the tunnels are that are being used for multiple murders and killing little girls and killing the last homeowner, etc. Okay, moving on. And I'll give you a link to that video. After these human traffickers failed to murder me and get my home for free, a plan was put into place to terrorize me into selling my home, at the price they set, of course. This works by some of them breaking into my home, others asking, suggesting, or ordering me to sell my home, with yet others threatening my life if I don't sell, while corrupt police look the other way because they're involved in this racketeering. And it's a textbook case of violations of the Hobbs Act, so imagine how surprised I was that this Homeland Security agent rudely asked me why I haven't sold sold my home. I compared this to the bank reporting a robbery and the police showing up and saying, have you thought about selling the bank? Well, that's absurd. I thought about law enforcement enforcing the law and not pouring concrete to cover up for human traffickers that are killing little girls and homeowners that report crime. And so I have screenshots from the text message from Homeland Security Agent Paul. This is on July 2nd. This is on the day that I met them, and we'll be heading that way. Sounds good. We're leaving. Be there if they do. We're in the parking lot at Home Depot. Okay, and we're standing outside of vehicles on the nursery side, etc. Okay. And then that night, I come back and I wrote him and I sent him a link to a video called Decided to Sell My Home. And basically that in that video, I said I've had these hundreds of people trying to terrorize me out of my home, asking, suggesting, order me to sell my home. So it's for sale. The price is $1 billion. And that's what I said earlier. Yeah, they want to set the price, And the thing is, I just want to live in my home without crimes being committed. And I want law enforcement to stop the crimes. That's what I pay taxes for. It's what you pay taxes for. And so anyway, here's what Paul says. Buddy, let's get something clear. I was not trying to talk you into selling your home today. I simply asked you why you wouldn't consider selling your home if you continue to feel threatened in there. I asked you to please not twist my words in something I absolutely did not say or imply. And remember, our entire conversation recorded. That's very important because now we know, and I would love for the public to hear that recording because they did have a recorder out there and that day, and I want the public to hear them. And and next time we have a bank robbery and the police show up and say, have you thought about selling the bank? Why would the bank think about selling why would the bank think about selling their property? Because somebody robbed them. We thought about the police showing up and arresting them. That's what I thought about. And so here we go. And so like I said, this was proof that there's a video. And here, if let's say that this, Paul happens to know about the $1 million underground facilities and the oil shale parties where $1 billion companies were going and all that, then Paul could go to prison, right? I mean, that's a violation of the Hobbs Act, trying to talk me into selling my home. But I'm not saying Paul knows about the underground facility. I'm expecting him to arrest these killers is what I'm expecting. And so, anyways, here, next one. 2 weeks ago, the Secretary of Homeland Security resigned, and I fully believe it's because of what is going on in Midland, Texas. But I'm not sure if it's because they're trying to stop crime or didn't do a good enough job covering up multiple human trafficking murders and underground rape and murder facilities where oil show parties are held. Oh, yeah, Rick Perry also resigned as Secretary of Energy. And you can see how Secretary of Energy plays into oil show parties. Oil companies, energy, Secretary Rick Perry, okay, you understand how all that runs. So first here, and let's look at the date on this. This is recent. This is what's going on. This is happening, October 11th, 2019. Okay. And so let's move on to the next one. And so I'm suspecting he resigned because of Midland, Texas. Okay. And because of the concrete, all that stuff. And about a week ago, the Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry, resigned, which I believe is directly connected to Midland, Texas, underground facilities, oil show parties, little girls that murder when they refuse to prostitute, and then the murder of the homeowners that live above with the help of corrupt police. Okay. It's just recently been found out that 5 police were listed as or being at or inside my home, but they were not seen on they were not seen on the security camera. New York Times is doing their censorship, so that's one of them news organizations that they only give you the news if you pay for it, and so but anyway, we know Perry resigned. It just happened. Okay, next one. It's clear to anybody that looks at the evidence that McAleenan, the previous homeowner, was killed in his home and taken to Fort Worth before the 2008 oil show and its party started. He died the week before the 2008 oil show started, which is important if the underground facility is in the backyard and they were using it for prostitution parties for that oil show. So what do you want to bet those famous prostitute parties were held in the back in the underground facilities here, and the people there went through the tunnels that concrete was poured in after I showed Homeland where I believe they were located. Okay, so I have a video I made recently, 2008 oil show murder, which I call that as McAleenan, the previous homeowner of this house. And there's a whole story. There's all kinds of evidence. It's real clear that McAleenan was murdered. And then they sold this home to the next sucker that happened to be transferring in from out of town and didn't know anything. That'd be me. And now I'm crippled for life without a job and living under a death threat, right, after reporting crime to law enforcement. Next one. My friend told me about a young girl that was murdered at a 2010 Osho party when she refused to prostitute. My friend was afraid to report this murder and said that high-level police were there. I wonder if any of them were Homeland Security. I provided this video to Homeland Security right here. And I'm going to give you links to all these videos, 2008 Osho party murder. And, and I provided them the names. And so, the name of the person that was at the party, names of other people I believe were at the party where the young girl was murdered. And the only thing that I know that happened was concrete got poured where I showed them the tunnels were. Okay, next. I secretly recorded the woman telling me there were 4 3-bedroom underground homes, 25 foot deep, and each of them cost over $1 million. She said they were having pedophile parties down there. I believe this is where the oil show parties were at, and I provided this video to Homeland. And once again, I've never provided this woman's name, but I did give it to Homeland. And now I'm concerned. I'm concerned for her safety, for her life, because it looks like Homeland is corrupt in covering up for these sex traffickers that are murdering little girls. And so next one, in Rhonda Denman Rogers told me that the underground facility was a half block away. This screenshot was provided to Homeland too, right? And Rhonda says, yes, I know it's a half block away. I said, my home's sitting on an underground facility. And Rhonda said, yes, I know it's a half block away. And so there's another person saying it, it's like, besides the triple proof that somebody under my home shoots me 2 weeks after I report a suspected tunnel to the DEA, besides that, I've got all these other people documented. I mean, why hasn't Homeland gone talk to them, right? Ricky Ronaldo told me that he used to live in my home, and him and his brother used to go in the tunnels under. I provided this to Homeland too. I used to live in that home, right? When I was a kid, there were tunnels under it. Me and my brother would always go down there. Ricky Ronaldo, did Homeland go talk to him? Or, maybe they went and threatened him. Maybe he took a bribe, I don't know what happened. Layla, this is recently, told me that she worked on the underground project, which was called Safe Houses, and it cost $7.35 million. She said they finished them in 1987, which fit other evidence I found. I was guessing 1985 based on a work permit for this house for a sprinkler install, etc. And that is when Bush was vice president. Bush is from Midland, Texas. Bush is a hometown, Bush's hometown's here in Midland, and the oil industry is the family business. The Bush Jr., was a landman. Okay, so here's Layla telling me right here that it was $7.35 million for this underground. And that's yet another person, right, called Safe Houses. So, it's like, how many people do you need, right, to solve a murder of a little girl? A clerk at Home Depot told me, if you see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, then it's because we're stalking. I hadn't seen that or thought about it, and it sounded like a clue. Big oil show parties would require a lot of parking, so I suspect that was the cover excuse. And Google Maps showed what looked like a large tunnel behind Home Depot coming directly towards my home. That's what I showed Homeland, okay? And this is a historical map from Google's. I'm going to show you. Here's my home. And right here, I was ambushed and shot on this side of my home. Crippled for life, lost my career, now on disability, okay? And so right behind my home, secluded trucking lane where the truckers were showing up. We believe it was being used for 24/7 sex trafficking business in coordination with the tunnels. Home Depot there, the huge parking lot in front. Remember, the clerk says, if you see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, it's because we're stalking, And then if you look close, you see the ground there. Looks like the ground was cut where there was a tunnel aimed directly at my home out of the back of Home Depot. Looks like a tunnel was cut, Doesn't look that way no more after I showed out Homeland, though. And you'll see in a minute right here in the backyard, it looks like there was an underground facility there. Google Maps is showing that. I also show another home over here. It had the same mortar problem mine. That's on Westmont Court. and the next cul-de-sac over, and this one had the same mortar problem I had, and so I suspect it might have had underground access, and it also has a large lot here, which would be perfect for a yet another underground facility. Remember, the woman said there was 4 3-bedroom underground homes. They also put a water well here, and this neighbor over here has a water well right there, and so that might be 2 of the underground homes. So a little girl maybe is murdered over in this area somewhere, but here's the crime victim. I'll tell you a funny story. While I'm over there, I'm meeting Homeland over here at Home Depot, and he tells me, he says, I can't take this court to case and get a conviction. And I'm like, that's not how this works, Yet I don't provide you with enough evidence to go to court and get a conviction, right? I mean, I come to you and report crime, and I happen to have more evidence than probably any crime victim on the whole planet. But you're the one that needs to go talk to Ricky Ronaldo, and if he lies to you, you're a federal agent. You go talk to the witness at the Oso party, and if they lie to you, they go to jail. You do some investigation. You're the detective. You detect, and then you build the case, and then you go to court. That's how it works. Okay. Also, the brother-in-law of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway lived in this house, and also notice that Mike Conaway's not rerunning for Congress, and I didn't even put him in on this video right here. I mentioned Perry and the other one, the Homeland Security Secretary. And so more recently, a woman tells me to go look at Google Maps. I'm going to put the address in of my address. Y'all can go do this. Go to maps.google.com, put in 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, and look at the block map, and then look at the sat map. And what you'll see is a large facility in my backyard. And I bet that's where the 2008 old show parties were held, prostitution parties. Remember, McAleenan died the week before the 2008, and also the 2010 old show prostitution parties. I believe they were coming in that tunnel. They were parking on the other side of Home Depot. The clerk's going, yeah, we got a lot of stalkers tonight, a lot of cars in the parking lot. And so here's my home once again, and you can see it. Look at the backyard. Nothing's there. Oh, there's a big, large facility in the backyard, right? And so right there, how difficult is this, right? And last one, the remains of a young girl were found outside of Midland in 2013. And I was told about a young girl being murdered at a 2010 old show party. My friend was at that party. I gave them her name. She was this young girl. The remains were 14 to 21 years old. And it seems like nobody cares about this little girl being murdered. Microsoft, the Midland County Sheriff's Office continues investigation into set of remains in 2013, found in 2013 outside of Midland. And so, something's got to change here. I still live under a death threat. Crimes against me still happen. Justice has never been served. These remains have never been identified. That little girl, the whole thing. And I understand oil companies, billion-dollar oil companies had people there, and it's going to hurt their stock. And I suspect they've been bribing people, but I'm going to send this. I'm going to send this over to Tulsi Gabbard, the Democrat. I'm going to send this to the Republicans, and I'm going to send it to whoever I can send it, because murdering one person after another ain't cutting it. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.